Jason David Frank dies at 49. Next up on Just the Talk So, let's talk about it. And welcome to the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks. And I am your humble host, Nova 718. And let's just get into the talk. Last week, it came out that Jason David Frank, known as most popularly known as the Green Ranger, then White Ranger, passed away. And this is going to be an interesting just to talk because this is much deeper than any other situation that we've encountered, at least in terms of like losing an actor. Because this one kind of goes into a lot of the issues that's going on between men and women, the court system, the neglect of male suicide, male emotions, things of that nature. You know, we spend a lot of time believing women damn near on any front without, or based off just accusations alone. And the reason why I'm tapping on several different threads is as I get into how I want to have this conversation about the death and passing and what's happened with JDF, I want to be able to put a little bit more substance on our just to talk a little bit. Because at the end of the day, we're human beings. And if you watch my channel, you know I'm not a big fan of how a lot of news reports in entertainment and fandom has been reported, and how it bleeds into a very personal part of the fandom in which it gets personal, it gets salacious, it gets accusatory, and it takes us into a different direction that we don't need to be in. But at the same time, I am a fan of true journalism, and basically in a nutshell, if we're going to set the precedent of certain things, then we should use that precedent when we discuss all things. If we're going to be fair one way, we should be fair both ways. But let's start on something most important. Let's just really talk about JDF, the Green Ranger, because for me, just like many people growing up, he's taken up a good part of our childhood. Me even to a further extent going into an adulthood, because a lot of things that came out of Power Rangers kind of influenced a lot of things that I've tried to do creatively, that kind of also turned into the development of myself, you know, in terms of being an artist of sorts and creator. You know, like everybody else, you had your own comic book ideas and stuff like that, and we usually get a lot of these inspirations from things that we've read from before. Anything for me like Spider-Man and X-Men and Power Rangers have inspired a lot of things that I've created throughout my Gulliver's travels as a child to adulthood. You know what I'm saying? And Power Rangers have kind of been like the last hallmark of my childhood. Like characters that I really kind of like, oh my gosh, like these are big to me, like Ninja Turtles. So for me, like when JDF came up in the I think it was the 5-part miniseries was like Evil with Green, and he popped up and he showed up fucking up all the Rangers. Like he jumped right in the head of that Megazord and was like, get out the cockpit. It was kicking niggas the fuck up out the cockpit. Straight jacket, yo. Like he came in with a ruthless energy, looking like a Ranger with cool additions and mild changes. Like, you know, he didn't have the diamond or what we thought were diamond, but those were like teeth. when you think about it. Didn't realize the diamond things on the chest was really supposed to be like dinosaur teeth coming down, but that's what I've heard it was supposed to be, which kind of makes sense why they changed up the teeth pattern on his gloves, I guess, to mimic more of his dragon, to make him distinctly different, even though he kind of wore the same suit. Even if you remove the shell, he had the same regular diamonds, but he didn't have it on his gloves. But he had gold trimming that made him different, the gold armbands on both sides, and he had the gold shield, which everybody loved, that made him stand out apart from all. Then he had the dragon dagger, and then he had the evil sword, which, if I'm not mistaken, not only was the thing that kept him bonded to Rita with the spell, if I'm not mistaken, might have even given him additional powers. Not just the powers he shot from the sword, might have even empowered him more, because he was being controlled by the Rita Repulsa with the evil energy and all of that. Like, it was to the point that even Zack had to go get the Mastodon on his face. He said, yo, fuck all of this shit. He said, let's go get the dragons. Let's go get the Megazord. He called the whole Megazords down and said, let's get to it. And then he brought the shield, the Mastodon shield out when the Green Ranger was like, oh, you won't get the Zord? And he shot that big blast. And my man hit him with the Mastodon shield, and then kind of was like, now what? What we doing? Zack was a real one. The original second in command of the Power Rangers, my favorite Ranger. But to be honest, like, Tommy might have been like, because I did like Adam. Not as a Black Ranger. He was not Zack. He could not fill the shoes. But as a Green Zeo, he was definitely a dope character. Probably my kind of favorite. If we were gonna go Zeo, between him and JDF would have been my favorite until the Gold Ranger came, and that's when I really started rocking with Jason. When Jason the character came in, Austin St. James, and he came in and he was the Gold Ranger because he had the Gold Ranger suit, and the suit was ridiculously tough to me, and that staff was mean. So for me, like, that was kind of how it was for me. My favorite Rangers was obviously Zack. Then it kind of bounces to be realistically between JDF, because I really liked them even more as a White Ranger, because his suit was just completely different from all the other Rangers, which made him stand out even more. And you know, you a kid, I loved drawing the Green Ranger versus the White Ranger. But the White Ranger suit was just like sick to me until the Gold Ranger came, and then to me the Gold Ranger had the best Power Ranger suit ever. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe White, or maybe the Black Ranger when he had the gold suit, and then I would go down from there to, like, you know what I mean, like that. Between that, the Black Ranger with the gold shield, and the White Ranger, then, you know, you go down to the Green Ranger, obviously, and then maybe even the Red Ranger when he had the gold shield, because that was kind of tough too. And, you know, but at the end of the day, I just like the suits at times. But in terms of characters, it's always been Zack, my favorite. And then I would say Tommy and Adam kind of like occupy my second space. On any given day, you can see it flex. And for me, like, those days growing up watching Power Rangers and stuff was just like, for a lot of people, part of the Ranger Nation, if you will. We have like real fond memories of those times. You know, we kind of really pour a lot into those characters. So JDF passing, you know, the way he did it, let's be for real, he took his own life, you know. And we're going to get a little bit more into it, but I'm going to read the Variety article just to get a sense of where this is actually coming. The article came from, and we could talk a little bit further, and we'll get into the specifics in a little bit. But let's just start off and set the tone right with this Variety article by Katie Raoul. So, and it came out on November 20th. Oh, so it's been about, shoot, it's has it been the 20th? Yo, so technically speaking, it's, yeah, it's been, if it was the 20th, that was Sunday the 20th. It's been 3 weeks. For some reason, I it felt like it was 2 weeks ago. That's crazy how time is going by, man. It's been 3 weeks since JDF died. But in any event, let's get to the article from Variety on November 20th, 2022 at 1:10 p.m. Pacific time. Jason David Frank, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers star, dies at 49 by Katie Raoul. And that's pretty fucking young. Anyway, let's get to the story. Jason David Frank, the actor who originated the role of Tommy Oliver, aka Green Ranger in the Power Rangers franchise, died November 19th in Texas. He was 49 years old. Frank's death was confirmed to the Associated Press by his manager, Justine Hunt. No further details about the actor's death could be confirmed, but she asked for the privacy of his family and friends during this horrible time as we come to terms with the loss of such a wonderful human being. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers premiered in 1993 on Fox Kids, airing for 3 years for a young audience enthused by its dynamic casting of kung fu savvy vigilantes. The Power Rangers franchise has continued across multiple iterations and adaptations in the years since, with Frank often returning to his role in the series, becoming a beloved figure among the fan base. Frank's character was initially introduced as an antagonist in the series, placed under a spell by the Power Rangers nemesis Rita Repulsa. The Green Ranger is a deadly adversary to the team of heroes. Originally slated for a limited appearance, Frank ended up becoming a series regular due to the character's popularity among fans. After the Green Ranger is freed from Rita's mind manipulation, he is transformed into the White Ranger, a role that Frank fulfilled for 2 seasons that followed. I can't believe it. R.I.P. Frank, can't believe it. R.I.P. Jason David Frank. Walter Jones, one of Frank's co-stars on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, wrote on Instagram. My heart is sad to have lost another member of our special family. Frank went on to accept roles in other Power Ranger shows and films like that of a Red Zeo Ranger in Power Rangers Zeo, the first ever Red Turbo Ranger in Power Rangers Turbo, though he departed from the latter project mid-season. Other highlights from the franchise includes appearances in Power Rangers Wild Force, Power Rangers Dino Thunder, and Power Rangers Ninja Steel. Born September 4th in Covina, California, Frank's legacy remains embedded in the World Karate Union Hall of Fame and the Black Belt Hall of Fame. Frank's acrobatic abilities were no thanks to movie magic. The acclaimed actor was also an 8th degree black belt in karate and possessed experience with various other styles of martial arts, including Taekwondo, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Muay Thai. He first started learning karate at 4 years old and received his first black belt at the age of 12. In 1994, Frank began opening martial arts schools. At these dojos, Frank taught a new self-created system of fighting called Toso Kundo, which translates to Way of the Fighting Fist, and incorporates many different martial arts styles. When Mighty Morphin Power Rangers wrapped, Frank met Koshi Rick Herbster, who became his longtime business partner. Together they started running Rising Sun Karate Academy, where Frank remained an educator for the remainder of his life. Frank made his 2010 debut in the mixed martial arts ring at the U.S. Amateur Combat Association's first ever Lone Star Beatdown in Houston, Texas, where he won out against MMA fighter Jonathan the Mack Truck Mack in the first round. He started to receive MMA coaching from UFC lightweight Melvin Gouliard a year prior to the fight. Most recently, Frank was set to star in an up-and-coming film from director Aaron Skolnick Key, titled Legend of the White Dragon. The film would follow Frank as the eponymous warrior. Frank is survived by his two sons, Hunter and Jacob, and his two daughters, Sky and Jenna. Now, I wonder if Rising Star has anything to do with, or Rising Sun. I don't know, because I know he has a lot of association with that. They make a lot of the beat down, whatchamacallits. But and any of it, the bottom line is that he had a long-standing relationship with the franchise for quite some time. Now, me, I mean, I would have loved to have seen Walter Jones get incorporated and other Rangers pop up more over the seasons like JDF did. And now that they're having their reunion episode, which finally all the Rangers are going, the original Rangers, apart from Tui, may she rest in peace, will be there. And I was so glad that JDF wasn't a part of it. Be completely honest, because I got tired of every time JDF shows up, it's all about him. And even to a lesser extent, when you incorporate the character Jason, they're fighting so hard to level him up to what they did with JDF to ensure that that he's just as great as JDF, if not greater, the greatest Red Ranger ever, which we all know he was. It is what it is. And JDF was definitely a second, I would suggest, but I didn't watch all the other Ranger seasons, to be quite honest. I remember coming back and being surprised, like when I caught up with SPD, and I actually liked the Red Ranger, even though I think they had more than one. But the Dread brother, he was actually a cool character to me. But when I realized that, man, they still making Power Rangers, and then I found Dino Thunder, and he pops up in it. I'm like, get the fuck up out of here. And I liked him as the Black Ranger. He was cool. He was a dope mentor and stuff like that. But like, again, he always took up the lion's shit. So when they're doing this new reunion season, I expected him to show up at the end at some point, or even allude to. Even though they're saying it's a season, I kind of was hoping that they would at least push for a second season. And eventually you'd more than likely see JDF come back. If not, he was going to probably pop up at the very end, because they are the original Power Rangers. It was really 5 at first, and then JDF was the original Green Ranger. So it would have been good to see him eventually pop up, but I would have loved to see the core cast, the original. Unfortunately, we can't have Tui, so we're hiring someone to be her daughter in the series, which is fine. And to finally get a good end cap for where we started and where we ended. And then hopefully, if it did good, they would bring them back. And eventually, obviously, they were going to bring JDF back. Somehow, at the end of that season, we was going to see him pop up. I do believe. And now we can't even have that, at all. We can't even hope for that. Even if they didn't do it, we could have had our fingers crossed. Because I've been having my fingers crossed for so many years to see Walter Jones pick up the helmet again. That as we see the Red Ranger over the years start, the original Red Ranger come back as in Austin St. John. If this round out JDF didn't show up, which I was fine with, because he always pops up. Let them have the original, have their time to focus on those characters. But eventually, I wanted him to show up with everyone. Because it would have been so fucking cool to see them all together in their original suits one last time, even down to the Green Ranger. But we can't have that no more. And it's a shame, man. Hopefully his daughter could pick up the mantle, if you will, and maybe even his real daughter, because she's a fighter. I think his sons are real fighters, but I know about his daughter being like a legit fighter. And hopefully she could pick up the reins if they go beyond that original one. And maybe they will make mention of JDF. Maybe they won't. I don't know if it's ready for them to do that in the script of the series. But I'm sure at the very end they're going to definitely, just as they will nod to the Yellow Ranger Tui. I'm sure they most definitely will nod to JDF if this doesn't even slow up production a little bit, because I'm sure eventually he was going to pop back up. And it's a fucking shame. But even more so, how he died. We got to really talk a little bit about this. I don't want to get too lost in the sauce because we don't know all the information that goes into it, but his wife serving divorce papers at a signing, we got to stop going out of our way to embarrass men. We have to. There's this weird thing that it's okay to embarrass people. The internet has made it even worse. But this thing of embarrassing men at their place of business. And there's men that do this to women too, but it's really been a thing with women to use embarrassment as a tool of, dare I say it, because since everything is abuse, can we say this is a tool of abuse now? Can we? She was coming for his money. And we got to also discuss the excessive nature of alimony and stuff, like to ruin men that have worked hard to get where they've gotten. We have to talk about this. JDF is not the only man to have passed at his own hands because of the ruthless nature of a divorce. To put not only him in ruins, his legacy, his namesake, especially if you're a type of person that wants to keep your personal life private and apart from your public activities. For you to go and do it like that there was no other way. And now we're ratcheting it up as fans because we want to be our own gumshoes and shed light to it because we had so much love for this character and the actor that has brought the character to life, that we would now want to engage in this online assault against the wife, whether she deserves it or not, because we need to figure it out. And even so, what happens if she pushes herself to that extent, which I don't think she will. This is what going out of your way to embarrass and drag people can do. Look at what we as a fandom have done to Walter Hamada, Kathleen Kennedy. You know, we can't fake the funk and get mad at how she handled that, and now look at our fandom and see how we handle our disdain for fictional characters and their portrayal, and how we handle the real life human beings behind it, whether they're sabotaging the story or not. And I'm not saying the fact that we critique them, it's not the critique, it's how we go about doing it. I listened to a stream of people preparing to ride on James Gunn, and he wasn't even a whole month in. And we already making assumptions, and we're now preparing an onslaught of online attacks to sway him out of his position. For what? For a Snyderverse. That only reason why Snyder was pushed off because of the same exact energy that we put in from the very beginning. And when I say we, I mean so-called fans that disliked Zack Snyder, forced him all the way out, and even so-called fans utilizing his real life personal tragedy and weaponizing it against him. And now we're gonna find ourselves in protecting his legacy, JDF's legacy, to do the same to his wife. Now, make no mistake, she doesn't deserve much sympathy at all as the reports start to come out about how she handled it prior. So now her story's coming out. It's not falling in line with how she was treating him before he was gone. And I'm going to give you this small caveat. It's easy to hate on a person alive that you used to have love for. Then after they die, now all you got, now you can't utilize your hate on their name. What's left? Now you're going to run to the love you had for them. And it's easy to do that, but up to the day he died, he didn't feel you loved him. He didn't feel this deep appreciation you're writing out into the ether. So is that to quell the fan base before they ride on you and embarrass you for how you embarrassed him? Make this shit make sense. And in seeking some sort of parody, we find ourselves as a fandom becoming exactly the villain in this story. The way we push it and the further we push it. Now, I'm cool with fandom saying, hey, we don't believe you, sis. If she writes this long-winded post about my man and all of this, I'm not knocking fans saying that ain't the story from just before he died, so we don't believe you. We don't need this post. Thumbs it down. Thumbs it down. And even if you can't give a thumbs down, there's emojis for thumbs down. You know what they should have all did? Do a campaign. Go underneath her thing and post thumbs down. Or write thumbs down. Thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down. We don't believe you. We don't believe you. We don't have to go hard. We won't have to drag her for filth. She gonna feel it on her own when no one comes to her safety. We don't believe you. We don't believe you. We don't believe you. We don't believe you. Do I feel sorry for her? Not exactly. But it's not up to me to feel sorry for her. It's up to her for her conscience. What I care, mostly about is the family and friends that really did care for him. And if it's her included, then by proxy her. But not by direct intent her. That lost someone. And in a way, we all lost. Even in a way with me, I'm not trying to put myself into it because I did not know JDF personally. But I lost an actor that was a big component of my childhood. And him coming back to the franchise and adding more to it, me as an adult enjoying it as a grown-up. We've lost now that person, that character, and it does have an effect moving forward on anything down the line. So if I was to go to a Comic-Con, I wouldn't never be, that's one character I'll never be able to say, dag, bro, if I seen him, be like, yo, man, like I grew up watching you, bro, just shake his hand. I'm not no big extra fan type of person, but when I go to a con now, if he was there, I couldn't shake his hand. Any other Ranger that played on the series, I'd be more than glad to. If they wouldn't mind shaking my hand, I definitely wouldn't mind shaking the hand of a character that kind of was pivotal in my upbringing when it came to my imagination, which was a big part, and big component of me as a child going into my teenage years. And the things that, like, the characters I created growing up, a lot of them borrowed traits from all my favorite characters growing up, and him included. And it's a shame to lose such a strong character and fixated in pop culture. And I know he will definitely be missed by fandom, friends, loved ones, and beyond. With that being said, I'm gonna leave it right here. We'll talk a little bit more on JDF. We're gonna show some more, put some respect on his legacy again. I just wanted to talk about his passing and talk a little bit about the issues that surround it in terms of, yo, man, if you have mental issues and you're finding it hard to cope, look out and try to find and seek some help and some assistance. And there's people out here willing to help people like that, people like you. And look for it, embrace it, and hopefully you'll find some healing in that. With that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We're going to talk a lot more about it. Don't be surprised if you're going to see some tribute videos towards him. There's editorials that I do want to drop on the channel. I am tied so many different ways between my jobs and what things I do outside of this channel. But it's coming and look forward to it. But as always, leave it in the comments below and let me know some of your most impactful memories of his character, or even if you met him in person. Like, leave it all in the comments below, man. You already know what it is. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time, and as always, till I have a better outro.
It's morphin' time!
Chill.